So, America has known to make many great sports out there. For example, American football, basketball, and baseball. But there's another American sport that has much more population worldwide. 900 million people, in fact, and that is known as volleyball. To be as basic with this sport, volleyball is a game for two teams, usually of 6 players, in which a large ball is hit by hand over a high net. The aim being to score points by making the ball reach the ground on the opponent's side of the court. And considering that 2020 is the 125th year anniversary since the invention of volleyball, it would be nice looking back at how much this sport has changed throughout the years, as well as how much the world has been impacted by this sport. Let's start off in the beginning of this sport. Okay, so the year is 1895, and the idea of sports began to grow at an increasing rate. A man that goes by the name of William G. Morgan has just graduated from Springfield College of the YMCA. If that name sounds familiar, also known as the Young Men's Christian Association, the YMCA is also known for the birth of the popular sport of basketball, which was in fact created only 4 years before volleyball. So anyways, William G. Morgan was like, basketball's cool and all, but let's try to make another sport, something that's not as physical. So he created this hybrid sport of basketball that did not require such toughness or athleticism. I don't know why he did this, because he looked pretty tough. He had a really cool mustache. He looked very husky, but he did it anyway. In short, his idea was to create a combination of tennis, baseball, basketball, and handball. Less than a year later, in 1896, the first official match of volleyball was played in a dusty old gymnasium located in Holyoke, Massachusetts. Volleyball began to grow throughout the nation and eventually became influenced beyond other countries. The first country that started to use volleyball was one of America's neighbors, in fact, and that was Cuba. The one with Fidel Castro, also the one with all those cool old-fashioned cars. That Cuba. 3 years later, volleyball began to be played in Asia, starting with Japan. The Philippines later picked up the sport as well in 1910, and 6 years later, a new technique made by them was adopted in the American Games. This new technique is known as the spike, where you hit the ball with one hand upper-handed. And pretty much everyone uses the spike. It's heavily used in today's modern game of volleyball. And lastly, many South American countries like Brazil joined the participation of the new sport. Despite all of this new popularity, volleyball was not seen as a professional sport yet. That was until in the beginning of 1920, volleyball was starting to be taken more seriously as a sport. Volleyball was now a well-known college sport in America. Colleges began to use referees in 1934. So I guess for 14 years, they just didn't use referees. But I mean, that must have been a nice time, not having a ref just ruin the game. But anyways, that's mainly the main time when referees were used in many American sports. But during this time, however, volleyball slowly died down due to World War II. It was after another 20 years or 10 years after the war, you can say, that volleyball began to grow past its best popularity. Okay, so big jump. The year is 1955. Okay, that's not really a big jump, but considering American history, that's pretty big. But anyways, 1955, and volleyball was finally being played at an international level in America. This international league and association for volleyball is known as the FIVB, or Federation International de Volleyball. This association is seen on all the official volleyballs that are used in professional games. See, even I have one. It's pretty cool. I like this ball. Anyways, there was one last feat that volleyball must do to be considered a popular sport, and that was the Olympics. It was not long after until volleyball was put as an Olympic sport. The first Olympics to host volleyball was in Tokyo, Japan in 1964. This American sport rises up the ranks of sports to even become an Olympic sport, which is quite the accomplishment. After the Olympics, volleyball became even more popular in America and the entire world. A new form of volleyball formed too, which is known as beach volleyball. The one they have in the movies, the really cool one. The one, they only have 2 players on each side, that's beach volleyball. This form of volleyball was seen to be played first on the beaches of California, and this version of volleyball eventually became an Olympic sport as well. In this modern era, volleyball is greatly increasing in popularity in many countries, including America. This sport has always been unique since you need teammates to win a point. This is a sport where anyone can play, even short people can play. In fact, in 1999, the libero position is known to be a defensive position to get low, perfect for short people. So in conclusion, volleyball is one of those sports that does not require any super athleticism. Anyone can play this sport with friends or with just random people. Hope you enjoyed this video, Mr. Miller, and I'm going to be honest, it would be awesome if you can help us get a volleyball club. I mean, I got a lot of boys with me who want to play volleyball too. Like, we're willing to quit our sports just to play volleyball. Like, even the girls want to do it too. So, like, maybe if you can, like, put a little word there for, like, Pap, like, that'd be great. Please. All right, but thank you for watching. And, I'll see you next year.